I just recently deployed an AI WhatsApp assistant for a water sports rental company that handles customers' inquiries and bookings 24/7. It answers customers' questions, gets them booked into their desired slots, it sends out confirmation emails, as well as integrates itself within the business's CRM. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I built it out, all the way from the API setup to the live deployment. Whether you are a developer who just got your first AI client, or you're someone who is just curious about how deployments work in a real world setting, or you might be a business owner who is just trying to understand how AI can be plugged into your own business and system processes, then this video is for you, and let's jump straight into it. All right, so let's jump into the system architecture before we dive into connecting all of these nodes. This might look a little complex at first, but I promise you it is pretty straightforward. I'm going to break it down for you guys into simple pieces. This workflow essentially does three main things. It receives customers' messages from WhatsApp, figures out what the customer is asking, and then responds intelligently and takes action. So let's walk through this whole workflow from left to right. So the starting point is this WhatsApp trigger over here. This is where everything begins. When a customer sends a message to the business WhatsApp number, this is the node that catches it right here. Think of it as the front door where every customer's interaction comes through here. That message is then sent into the switch node, which was essentially implemented because the client that we were working with wanted to allow the AI agent to understand voice messages as well. So this checks what type of message did we get. Is it a text message? Is it a voice message? And based on the type, it routes the message to the right path. If it's a voice message, we need to transcribe it first. If it's text, we can send it straight to the AI. So if we take a look at this path over here, this is the path that I will call the transcription path, which is essentially where if someone sends a voice note, then these nodes will handle it, where we will download the audio file, it'll get sent to a transcription service through a GET request, and then we transcribe that recording using OpenAI, and then that final message will be sent into the AI agent. Same thing for if it was a text, we will send it into this edit fields, which is essentially a node that formats the message data so that the AI can understand it properly. It's like translating the raw WhatsApp data into a format that the AI expects, and then that final message will also be sent into the AI agent. And here we have our AI agent, which is the brain. This is essentially where the magic happens. The AI agent can understand what the customer is asking. It knows everything about the business, from services, pricing, to availability, you name it, it knows it all. It decides what action to take and generates a natural response. But here's the key though, it doesn't just generate text, it can actually do things. So all these nodes over here are essentially what we call as the AI's toolbox. These are all the tools that the AI can use. So starting from the left here, we have the OpenAI chat model, which is the language model that understands and generates responses. We have our simple memory, which allows the AI to remember the conversation context so that it does not repeat itself. The next three nodes are our Google Calendar nodes, where we can read, create, and delete, where we can check availability, book appointments, and cancel if needed. Same for our Google Sheets, where we have read, add rows, and update rows for checking the service availability and pricing, logging customer inquiries, and modifying booking information if needed. Our last node here, right before our Pinecone vector store, is pretty straightforward. It's our Gmail node where we can send out confirmation emails to customers once we get their booking in the system. And this last node over here is the Pinecone vector store. I'm not going to talk too much in this video about what a vector database is or what Pinecone is, but essentially this is the business knowledge base where all the information about services, policies, FAQs, anything related to the business lives is inside this vector store right here. And then we have our final node where we send out a message from the AI agent. So let me trace through one complete example so that you guys can see how everything works together. Let's say that a customer reaches out to this business and asks something along the lines of, can I rent a kayak tomorrow at 3 p.m. for my family, for example? And this n8n workflow will get triggered due to this WhatsApp trigger receiving a message. It will send that message to this switch node. It will acknowledge that it's a text message and not a voice message. We'll send out that text message to this edit fields node, which processes the data and then sends it to the AI agent. The AI agent receives it and it starts thinking. The AI agent is also smart enough to acknowledge that family probably means multiple people, and it needs to check availability for tomorrow at 3 p.m. So it will use this Google Calendar read node to go through the business's Google Calendar and see if we have any open available slots for tomorrow at 3 p.m. Let's say it does find availability. The AI will generate a response and be like, absolutely, we do have kayaks available tomorrow at 3 p.m. How many people total, for example? And then it will send that message. The customer will read it and respond. For example, let's say a customer responds, 4 people, so 2 kayaks. The AI will jump back into its tool set and go through the Google Calendar to create a new event for tomorrow at 3 p.m. for this customer and reach out to the customer asking for its email and phone number. Once it gets that information, we'll go into the Google Sheets and update the rows with the customer's information. And then it will send out a message in Gmail, which is the confirmation email to the customer that they are booked. And then it will send a message out to the customer letting them know that, perfect, 2 kayaks for 4 people have been booked for tomorrow at 3 p.m. Check your email for confirmation. So now that you understand the architecture and how data flows throughout the system, let's actually build this out so that you can deploy something like this for a real-world client. I'm going to walk you through connecting each piece step by step, exactly how you would set this up in production. We'll start with WhatsApp, and then connect the AI, and then we'll wire up each tool, so that by the end of this video, you'll understand how to take this from concept to a working system that a real business can use. So starting with this WhatsApp trigger node over here, this is where the customer's message comes in, as we already mentioned. Before we actually go ahead and start setting everything up here, I want you guys to click on this docs link, which takes you to the n8n's documentation. This walks you through exactly what you need to set up this WhatsApp trigger node. So if you take a look at this blue box that says credentials, you can find authentication information for this node here. I want you to click on this blue link. And then here we have our requirements. Essentially, you would need 3 things from Meta to set up the WhatsApp trigger node. You need a Meta developer account, you need a Meta business portfolio, and you need a Meta business app configured with WhatsApp. A Meta developer account is basically your login to build things with Meta's platforms. So think of it like creating an account on GitHub or any other developer platform. It's free, it takes 2 minutes, and it's what gives you permission to create apps and integrations. The Meta Business Portfolio is where your business information lives in Meta system. It's like a container that holds all of your business assets, your Facebook pages, your Instagram accounts, ad accounts, and in our case, the WhatsApp business account. If you've ever run Facebook ads or managed a business page, you probably already have one of these. If not, you create it during the setup process. And finally, we have our Meta Business app with WhatsApp. This is the actual connection point. It's the app that bridges WhatsApp to your automation, essentially. Inside this app, you add WhatsApp as a product, and that's what gives you the API credentials to connect to n8n. So think of it like this. The business portfolio is your business, and the app is the specific tool that lets the business talk to WhatsApp through your agent. Now, before we move forward, you might be wondering, in a real client deployment, who creates these 3 things? The client in general would have to create most of these things. So the business portfolio, the client would have to create that because that's where their business lives. The client would also have to create the business app because that needs to be under their business. And then the client adds you as a developer to that app so that you can access it, configure it, and integrate it with n8n, get the API keys, and so forth. In general, you would never want to create these things under your account for a client. They own it. You just operate inside their system is how it usually works. For this demo, I created these under my account so that I can show you the technical process. But in production, you would want to be working inside the client's Meta Business Manager. So I've already created these 3 things for this demo: the Meta Developer account, the Meta Business Portfolio, and the Meta Business app with WhatsApp. The n8n docs here have these steps. They're very easy and simple to follow. So I'm not going to go through all of these step by step, but it should be fairly simple if you follow this guide. There is, however, one critical step that I'm going to show you guys for production deployments, which is how a client would give you access to their Meta business so that you can do all of this in their account once they have created their own business portfolio and business app. All right, so assuming that you followed n8n's documentation, you should now have these 3 things set up, and you should have access to this page right here. This is Meta's business suite at business.facebook.com. You log in, and this is the home page. For this demo, this is my business account, but in a real production deployment, this would be your client's business manager. So let me show you how they would give you access as a developer. The client would have to go to settings here at the bottom left, and then we have profiles, and then we have this user section here. We can click on people. So here we see the people or the users that have access to this business portfolio. All they would have to do is click on invite people. They would enter your email address, and this email address has to be associated with your Facebook account. If you don't have a Facebook account, you will not receive this email. So we have to make sure that you guys have that. And you must have a Meta developer account as well. Again, the Meta developer account is this requirement over here through n8n. So just following these steps and you will have your own Meta developer account. So let me just input an email just to show you guys how this would look like. Here we can give the user full access. And here the client should assign business assets to the developer, which is you. They need to select two things. We have the actual app where they can give you admin or developer access. And then we have the test WhatsApp business account in this case, because we are just using a test business account. But this would actually be their real business account in production. Now the app gives you access to configure settings and generate credentials. And then the WhatsApp account gives you permission to work with the phone number and manage messages. As of right now, this is grayed out for me because the account that I'm using does not have a Meta developer account set up. As you can see, if I try to click anything, it says cannot change current app access until this user completes developer registration, which verifies that you do need a Meta developer account for this. And here we can give full control. Continue. So they hit invite, you get an email, you accept it, and now you can access their app. So that's the whole production workflow. They own it and you will have access to integrate it. Now, even though I'm working in my own personal Meta account for this demo, the rest of this video, connecting the credentials, configuring everything in n8n, is done exactly the same way as if I just got access to a client's business account. The steps do not change. The only difference is whose name is at the top of the business manager over here. So as we go through connecting these nodes, just imagine this is the client's account that you're working in. So now let's connect this to n8n. Okay, so now to actually connect our WhatsApp trigger node, we're going to need to create new credentials. I already have them set up, but I'm going to show you how to get these credentials. They're pretty simple to get. So if we click on this little icon here, we see that we need a client ID and a client secret. So if we head to the Meta developer dashboard that we should have access to now if we've been following n8n's guide, we should see this page here. And for the credentials that we are looking for, you want to go to app settings, basic, and we should copy this app ID right here, and we can click on show on the app secret and copy that value as well. We'll paste the ID here and the secret here. I'm not going to do that because I already have those set up, as you can see. And then you'll test the connection, and then hopefully you'll get this same pop-up here which says connection tested successfully. One thing I do want to mention when it comes to production versus testing environments is that this is my demo account again. So this is my app ID and my app secret. But since I just showed you how a client would give you access to their business manager, if this were a real production deployment, I would be looking at their app ID and their app secret. The process is identical. The only difference is whose app you are in. All right, so now that this WhatsApp trigger node is connected successfully, I'm going to jump straight to this AI agent because these nodes right here are not essential for deployment specifically. The only important node would be this WhatsApp node right here, but setting this node up is the exact same process as setting up the send message WhatsApp node. So I'll get to that in depth when we get to it. All right, so the first step of setting up our AI agent is this OpenAI chat model here. If we click on this, we have to set up credentials. You can click on these docs here if you want to go through it, but this is a very simple process. Essentially, you want to go to platform.openai.com. If you don't have an account, then create one, and then you will get sent to this dashboard here. You can click on settings, and then go to API keys. And then here you would generate an API key by creating a new secret key by clicking this plus sign. You should get your key. Make sure to copy that and save it somewhere safe. And let's paste that into n8n. So back in n8n, I will create a new credential. Then I'll paste my key right here and then save that. We got a connection tested successfully, so we should be good. For the model, you can play around with it and choose whichever model you want. But for this demo, I'll be using GPT 4.1. Now, for production, the difference from WhatsApp With OpenAI, it does not matter whose account you use, whether it's yours or the client. With WhatsApp, the client has to own the account because it's tied to their business phone number and their messaging limits. But with OpenAI, you can use your own API key for all your clients. OpenAI just charges you per token, which is like a few cents per conversation. You can either bill clients separately for the API usage or just build it into your monthly service fee or however you go about that. If the client wants to use their OpenAI account, that works too. Same setup, just their own API keys instead of yours. Either way, it's fine. It's just an API key, so no ownership issues like WhatsApp. I'm going to quickly jump into this AI agent, just talk about it a little briefly. The main thing here is the system prompt, which is where I tell the AI its role and how to behave. So mine says something like, you are a friendly booking assistant for Bayside Water Rides, which is a water sports adventure company located at X location. This is important because it shapes how the AI responds, but prompt engineering is really its own thing. So for deployment purposes, just know that you need to customize this for each client's business. Okay, so the next node we have to set up is this Google Calendar node. So if I click into this read node over here, and then I click on select a credential, create a new credential, we would get to this screen here. If you're on n8n Cloud, you would just see a sign in with Google button, which is super simple. One click and you are done. Unfortunately though, I am self-hosting n8n, so if you are seeing this screen, then you have to manually set up Google Cloud credentials, client ID, and secret. If you're on n8n's cloud platform, then you can skip this part, but if you're self-hosting like me, let's walk through how you do this in production. So the first thing you're going to want to do is head to cloud.google.com. If you already have an account, then you can click on console. If not, then there would be a section here that says start for free and you would have to create your account. So let's head into the console. Once you're in the console, you want to click on this project dropdown, and then we're going to create a new project. I'm going to call this client production to simulate a real deployment. Just to note, in production, you would be creating this under the client's Google Cloud account and not yours. Our next step now, after we've created our project, is to enable the APIs. So we're going to click on this menu dropdown. We're going to go to this APIs and services, then enabled APIs and services. And then here we are going to search for the APIs that we want to enable. For my agent that I'm building, I want to enable Google Calendar and Google Sheets. So if we search for Google Calendar, we should find this Google Calendar API here. Enable. Our next step is to go to this OAuth consent screen. Get started. Name it whatever you want. Select your email. Hit next. For our audience, I select external. This lets any Google user authenticate, which is what you want for client deployments. You can hit next. Here you would type in any support email account. Hit next. Hit the checkbox, continue, and then create. So now that we're at this page, the next step is that we're going to create an OAuth client, which is going to set up the credentials that we need to input into n8n. For the application type, select web application. Name, give yourself a useful name. I'm going to name it client production. Our final step is setting up this URI, which is a URL that is already set up in n8n. If we go back to n8n, we see this OAuth redirect URL. Click to copy, go back into our console, and then paste that URL here. Hit create. Hit OK. Here we have our client ID, which we can copy and paste into n8n's client ID section. Come back here into the client production, click that client production link, and then here we have our client secret, which we can copy and bring into the client secret. Now you'll know that you have done this right if you get this sign in with Google pop-up here. So we're going to click on sign in with Google. We are going to use our Gmail account. In production, this would be the client's Google Workspace account. Now, as you can see, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you will also hit this roadblock, this access blocked. To bypass this, we're going to close out of this tab, go back into our Google console, click on the audience, and then click on Publish App. Click OK, confirm. And by doing this, we won't get the access blocked pop-up anymore, and we won't have to re-authenticate it every other 7 days, which is what we need in a production environment. Now we can go back into n8n and hit the sign in with Google. Sign into our account. We'll get this pop-up that Google has not verified. If you see a continue button, then hit that. In my case, I have to click on advanced. and then go to hostinger.cloud. And now we can actually verify it. Select all, continue, and now we're authenticated with Google. I'm going to go back into the console because I need to install the Google Sheets and the Gmail APIs as well. Okay, so now that we have our Google Calendar account set up, now you can go through your list of calendars and pick the one that you want, which would be the client's calendar in this case. So just to reiterate, I just did all of this under my Google account for the demo, but in a real deployment, you would have the client create the Google Cloud project in their account, set up the OAuth credentials in their projects, connect their Google Workspace account. So now all calendar events can go to their calendar and you're just operating inside their system. Now for Google Sheets and Gmail, we can create the same exact credentials. I don't need to create new OAuth credentials. You already saw me enable those APIs in the Google Cloud Console. So all I gotta do is come into each one of these nodes. So for Google Sheets, create a new credential using OAuth 2. We would go back to Google Cloud. Here we have our client ID. Paste that in client ID section in n8n. Click on our client production, grab the client secret, paste it in here, hit save, sign in with Google again, hit advanced, go to Hostinger, select all, continue. And now we should be connected successfully. I'm going to go in and do the exact same process for the Gmail. One more API that you might need to enable is the Google Drive API. If you're getting errors, try enabling this. I was getting issues setting up my Google Sheets, and I was getting this error which says Drive API has not been used in project whatever before, and enable it by visiting this website. So now that I have re-enabled my Google Drive API, I'm going to give this a retry, and we were able to select that successfully. So now that we have set up all of our Google nodes, we are almost done with this build. On a side note, I do want to mention that I know that Google Cloud Console setup was a little bit confusing and full of jargon, but here's the thing. Not every client is going to use the Google Workspace. Some clients use Microsoft 365, some use Salesforce, some use HubSpot, Zoho, Go High Level, Airtable, you name it. The process that I just showed you, going to the Services Developer Console, creating OAuth credentials or API keys, connecting them to n8n, that's the consistent pattern for basically every CRM or business tool. So Microsoft has Azure, Salesforce has their own connected app setup, HubSpot has their own developer portal as well. The steps are similar at the end of the day. Create an app, get credentials, and then paste them into n8n. So even though we did Google here, you're still learning the general workflow for connecting any third-party service in production. The specific buttons and pages change, but the concept is the same. So let's get back into our workflow. Our last node in our AI agents toolbox is this Pinecone vector store node. This is our knowledge base. It's where I've loaded all the business information, services, pricing, hours, policies, and FAQs. So when a customer asks how much does a kayak rental cost, the AI searches this vector database and pulls the real answer instead of making something up. To connect Pinecone, I only need an API key. To get this API key, I go to pinecone.io. I log into my account. Once I'm logged in, I go to API keys. And then I generate a new API key. You name it whatever you want, then you create the key, and then you copy that and paste it into n8n. Once I get that pasted, I hit save, and we should be successfully connected. The last thing you need to set this up is your Pinecone index, which pulls your indexes from Pinecone. This is mine, and this is essentially our knowledge base. Now for the production piece. I'm using my own Pinecone account and my own API key for this demo. In production, you could either use your own Pinecone account for all your clients, just create a separate index for each client to keep their data isolated, or have the client create their own Pinecone account and use their API key instead. Either way works. If you're using your Pinecone account, then you're paying for the storage and queries, and you'd build that into your service fees. If they use their own account, they pay Pinecone directly. The technical setup is identical either way, just different API keys. All right, and now the last piece to this puzzle, the send message node. This is how the AI actually responds to customers on WhatsApp. This send message node uses a different credential than the initial WhatsApp trigger that we were using earlier. The initial WhatsApp trigger used OAuth, which needed a client ID and secret for receiving messages, while this send message node uses a WhatsApp Business Cloud API key, which is an access token, and the business account ID. So let's jump into our Meta developer dashboard and see where we can get these two values from. So if we go to developers.facebook.com, which is where we set up our app, and then we click on this WhatsApp dropdown and then go to API setup, you'll get to this page, which is where you'll see everything that you need to connect n8n to WhatsApp for sending messages. This is where you get your credentials for sending messages out to customers. So here I can generate an access token by clicking on this blue generate access token button right here. But there is something important to understand about tokens in general. This token right here is a temporary token which expires in 24 hours. Every day it stops working and you'd have to come back and generate a new one through this page right here, which is fine for testing purposes while you're building out. But in production, you don't want your client automation to break every 24 hours, obviously, which in that case, you would need a permanent token, which you create through the Meta Business Manager under system users. It's a whole different process. That token doesn't expire, so the automation keeps running without you touching it. If you're just in the testing phases and you don't care about a permanent API token, you can just click this button and log in, and we get an access token, and then we'll copy that and paste it into n8n. I'm going to walk you through how to get that permanent access token in just a moment here. First, I just wanted to point out that the next credential that you need for n8n is this WhatsApp business account ID number, which in simple terms, think of this as the address for your WhatsApp business account. Meta manages thousands of businesses using WhatsApp. So when n8n sends a message, it needs to tell Meta, hey, send this message from this specific business's WhatsApp number. The business account ID is how it identifies which business account to use. It's like your account number at a bank. It tells Meta exactly who you are. All right, so let's walk through how to get that permanent access token if you were deploying this to a real client. I want you to come to your Meta Business Suite here at business.facebook.com. We can go to settings, and then we can click on this authorizations and verifications. Click on profiles. And then under users, we can see the system users button. As you can see here, I already have my own system user created. But for the general process, you'd click on this add button. Give your system user a name. Give it admin access, and then create. Once you have that set up, you'd click on this generate token. Select the app that you're working with. Hit next. For the token expiration, we see either 60 days, which is recommended by Meta, or never. Meta recommends 60 days for security reasons. If a token ever gets leaked or compromised, it stops working after 60 days. It's also good practice for businesses that need regular security audits. But the reality is, for most small business deployments, choosing never is usually fine. You set it up once and it runs until you manually revoke it. If you're working with larger clients or businesses with strict security requirements, then go with 60 days and set a reminder to refresh the token before it expires. For this demo, I'll choose never, but no, that's a trade-off between convenience and security. For permissions, we usually have two options that are pre-selected, which are already the permissions that n8n requires, which are the WhatsApp Business Management and WhatsApp Business Messaging. So make sure these two are selected. And then we can generate our token. Make sure to copy that somewhere safe as you won't be able to recover it. And then we can copy that and paste it into n8n. And now we can head back to our developer dashboard to get this business account ID. It should be this number right here. We can just copy that, come in, already have it pasted. But once we get that in and save, that should be successful. One thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to WhatsApp is this phone number section for sending and receiving messages. You can see here it says from, and there's a test phone number, which is Meta's test number that they give you for free. And then we have this to section where you can only send messages to phone numbers you've manually added and verified here. So I can message myself, maybe a few team members, but not real customers. In production, this changes completely. The process would be you'd register a real phone number, which is either the client's existing business number or a new dedicated number. Any customer would be able to message the business, and then the business can message any customer who's opted in. So to recap the difference, the test number is free, but you can only message pre-approved numbers, good for building. Production number is a real business number, no restrictions. Customers can message you and you can message them, and then that's what you deploy with. For this demo, I'm obviously using the test phone number, but when you go live with a client, you'd register their real business number through this same page, which would be through this add phone number section right here. Here you'd enter their business name, their business number. Meta would send them a verification code via SMS or call, and then you'd enter that phone number, and then it would be connected to the WhatsApp Business API. Now, if the client doesn't have a phone number to use, maybe they don't want to use their own personal line or main business line, then you have a few options. Option one would be a number from a provider such as Twilio, for example, which is, in my experience, the cheapest platform to use over time when it comes to phone numbers. The other option would be some clients just get a cheap prepaid SIM card, pop it in a phone long enough to receive a verification code, then never touch it again. Either way, the process is the same. You add the number here, verify it, and it becomes the client's WhatsApp business number. One important note would be that once the number is on WhatsApp Business API, it cannot be used on the regular WhatsApp anymore. So make sure that the client understands that before you migrate their number. All right, so with everything connected, let me show you a quick demo of this thing actually working. When we have all our nodes connected, we would hit on this inactive button to make this workflow active. This pop-up will tell you that your workflow is activated. And now I'm in WhatsApp. As you can see, I've tested this a bunch of times before, but we're going to send it a new message saying something like, "Hi, do you have any kayaks available tomorrow at 2 p.m.? We'll hit send. It'll check the business's calendar for availability, say yes, and then would you like to book this or that, depending on the business that you're working with, obviously. Since we're dealing with a water sports rental company, in this case, we are renting out kayaks. So I'm going to say single kayak. Great choice. To reserve, may I have your email address to start the booking. I'm going to give it my email address, and then it will ask for my full name. Full name in this case is test user. And then we'll ask for your phone number with the country code. I'll just say 123456789 just for testing purposes. And then it will confirm if it's one guest for a single kayak tomorrow at 2 p.m. We'll say yes. And then it'll say all set. Your booking is confirmed for Monday, November 24th at 2 p.m. I've sent out a confirmation email with all the details. Looking forward to your adventure on the water. And if we come to our Google Sheets here, which in this case would be the business's Google Sheets, we can see our appointment date, the booking status, our name, the phone number, email, and the intake form, which gives you a description of what the customer requested. And we can see here that we have that test user confirmed under the business's calendar. And with that wrapped up, that's how you deploy an AI WhatsApp assistant for a real client. To quickly recap the key production points, for WhatsApp, the client owns the Meta business, they add you as a developer, and you configure everything using their credentials, phone number, and permanent access token. For all the Google services, it's the same idea. Connect to their Google account so that bookings go to their calendar and not yours. And for API keys like OpenAI and Pinecone, you can use your own account and build a cost into your service fee or have the client create their own accounts. The technical build is the same whether you're testing or in production. The difference is whose accounts and credentials you're using. If you found this helpful, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you need to reach out, links in the description. See you in the next one.